I used to think cats were basically tiny chaos machines disguised as pets. One minute, my cat is sleeping peacefully like it actually contributes to household expenses. The next minute, it's sprinting through the hallway at full speed, bouncing off furniture like it just remembered something deeply embarrassing from 3 years ago. And then there's the behavior that genuinely unsettles me the most. Sometimes my cat will sit completely still and stare at an empty wall, corner, or ceiling for several minutes. No blinking, no movement, just pure unsettling concentration, like it has access to information I was never meant to know. At that point, you really only have two options. Either your cat is detecting tiny sounds and movements humans can't notice, or your house is haunted. Personally, I prefer the first explanation. For years, I genuinely assumed cats were just weird, little creatures making random life decisions for entertainment. But after learning more about cat behavior, I discovered something fascinating. Almost nothing cats do is random. Every strange thing your cat does, whether it's kneading your blanket like a tiny baker, knocking your water glass off the table with zero remorse, attacking your ankles like a miniature predator, or screaming outside a closed bathroom door as if it has been emotionally abandoned, is usually rooted in instinct, communication, or ancient survival behavior. In other words, your cat is weird, but for extremely logical reasons. And once you understand those reasons, cats somehow become less mysterious and even more ridiculous at the same time. So in today's video, we're breaking down 16 strange cat behaviors and what they actually mean. Why does your cat bring you dead animals like a horrifying little gift basket? Why do cats randomly get the zoomies at 3 a.m. like they've just been selected for an emergency mission? And why do they stare into empty space like they know forbidden information? Let's find out. Living with a cat is honestly a daily psychological experiment. You wake up every morning never fully knowing which version of your cat you're about to deal with. Will it be affectionate and sweet? Will it pretend you don't exist? Or will it suddenly decide your feet are public enemy number one? There is no schedule. There is no warning. There is only cat logic. And somehow, cat logic always makes perfect sense to the cat, never to us. The first thing I learned is that cats are secretly far more affectionate than they pretend to be. They just communicate love in ways that are socially confusing. For example, when your cat starts kneading on your lap like it's preparing bread dough, it is not secretly planning to open a bakery. This behavior actually comes from kittenhood. Kittens knead their mother's belly to stimulate milk flow while nursing. So when an adult cat kneads on you, your blanket, or your pillow, it usually means one thing. Your cat feels completely safe, comfortable, and relaxed around you. Basically, your cat is saying, this place feels emotionally premium. And honestly, that is a huge compliment from an animal that judges absolutely everyone. If your cat also licks your hand, hair, or face, congratulations. You have been accepted into its weird little social circle. Cats groom individuals they trust. So, while being licked by what feels like a tiny piece of sandpaper may not be the most luxurious experience, it is technically affection. Cats also love rubbing against your legs. At first glance, this seems sweet, and it is, but it is also slightly possessive. Cats have scent glands on their face, and when they rub against you, they are essentially saying, "You belong to me now," which is honestly bold behavior from someone who contributes nothing financially. Up to this point, most cat behaviors seem pretty cute. A little weird? Sure. Slightly inconvenient? Absolutely. But this is where cats go from adorable roommates to tiny survival experts disguised as house pets. Because some of the next behaviors are not just quirky habits. They are ancient instincts that somehow survived thousands of years and are now being casually performed inside your apartment, which is honestly hilarious. Your cat may sleep 16 hours a day, cry dramatically for food, and act personally betrayed whenever you close a door. But biologically, it is still running the software of a highly efficient predator. The funny thing is, a lot of cat behaviors humans label as annoying are actually signs of a very intelligent animal trying to make sense of its environment. Your cat is constantly gathering information. Who is moving? What changed? Why is that object suddenly in a different place? Why is this door closed today when it was open yesterday? Cats notice details that humans completely ignore, which explains why they sometimes seem hilariously overdramatic. From their perspective, they are not overreacting at all. They are conducting important security inspections, and suddenly, many ridiculous behaviors start making sense. Why does your cat ignore perfectly clean water but happily drink from a suspicious faucet like it's imported luxury mineral water? Because in nature, moving water is often safer than still water. Why does your cat suddenly sprint through the house at night like it has somewhere critically important to be? Because cats naturally release energy in short hunting bursts. Without prey to chase, that energy eventually explodes into what we lovingly call complete nonsense. And then there's the classic 3 a.m. zoomies. While you are trying to sleep peacefully, your cat's internal operating system is basically screaming, "Excellent, time to hunt." Truly a wonderful roommate. And now we arrive at perhaps the creepiest behavior of all, staring into empty space. No sound, no movement, just intense focus on a wall, hallway, or ceiling. This has convinced many cat owners that their pet can see ghosts. Thankfully, the explanation is much less terrifying. Cats simply experience the world very differently from humans. They can detect tiny movements in low light far better than we can. Their hearing is also absurdly sensitive, so while you are hearing absolutely nothing, your cat may be detecting insects inside walls, distant movement, electrical sounds, or tiny noises your human ears are completely unequipped to process. So no, your cat is probably not seeing supernatural entities. Probably. And I think this is one reason people become so obsessed with cats. The more time you spend around them, the more you realize they are far more complex than they first appear. At first, they seem cold, unpredictable, and slightly ridiculous. But once you start understanding their behavior, you begin noticing patterns, their routines, their preferences, their tiny habits, the specific ways they show trust, curiosity, irritation, or affection. And suddenly what once looked like random nonsense starts feeling like communication. So the next time your cat does something completely ridiculous, whether it's knocking your pen off the desk, screaming outside a closed door like its future depends on it, or staring into a random corner with deeply unsettling focus, try not to assume your cat is simply broken. Because most of the time, your cat is not acting randomly at all. It is following instincts shaped long before cats lived in warm homes, slept on soft blankets, or mastered the art of emotionally manipulating humans into providing snacks on demand. Underneath all that fluff is still a surprisingly efficient little predator, a tiny animal built to observe everything, react instantly, defend territory, and survive. And maybe that is exactly what makes cats so fascinating. They somehow manage to be both deeply domestic and strangely wild at the exact same time. They can spend an entire afternoon sleeping peacefully in a patch of sunlight, and then behave like a miniature jungle creature 5 minutes later. The more I learn about cats, the less confusing they become. Not because they stop being weird, but because their weirdness finally starts making sense. And honestly, once you understand why cats do these things, living with them becomes a lot more fun. You stop seeing random chaos and start seeing personality, instinct, intelligence, and a surprisingly sophisticated operating system behind all the madness. So now I'm curious, what is the strangest thing your cat has ever done that made absolutely no sense at the time? Let me know in the comments. I would genuinely love to hear your weird cat stories. And if you enjoy learning how cats actually think, behave, and secretly control our households, subscribe for more videos like this. Because let's be honest, we may think we own cats, but deep down, they are almost certainly the ones managing us.